During the pandemic, a lot of people were being laid off from work, and now with the rise of AI, it once again seems to put people's work at risk. This brings me to a question. Will human effort one day come to an end? Will there come a day when everything would be automated? If that be the case, what would the world be like? Would the automation of work be able to help bring about a positive impact to human existence? Or will it be detrimental? If so, what are the consequences? This is what we will be taking a look at in today's video. Hey guys, thank you for stopping by and welcome to another episode of Making Sense of Life with me, Mario. Aristotle once said that the human person is a social animal. Research has shown us that all mammalian forms from tree shrubs to human babies need a caregiver who's committed to making sure that the infant's biological needs are met. Some may want to counter-argue saying that as adults it's possible if one chooses to stay alone as long as the need for food, shelter and clothing are met. True, but even to get those things we are in some way dependent on others. I'm dependent on the guy who sells vegetables at my grocery store or the butcher at the meat shop without which I would not have food to eat, even if I may have the money to buy it. You see the connection? Yet our need to socialize and interact is not confined to just the physical aspects of life. We can truly say that it is our ability to connect, socialize and work together that has taken us forward. The ability to identify what someone is doing is the first step towards being able to understand why. Consider the following example. Let's say you see a friend drinking a glass of whiskey at 8 am. You ask him why. If he answers, in order to have a drink. Strictly speaking, he's answering your question, providing you with an goal which is to have a drink. But his answer is entirely unsatisfying. It is obvious that he's taking a drink because he wants to take a drink. What you really want to know is what special motivation led him to that unusual goal of wanting to have an alcoholic drink at that particular hour of the morning. The responses to have a drink and to drown my sorrow because I lost my job are technically both answers to the same question, but they highlight how the word goal can have different meanings. We are all mind readers. For instance, when you read, you are not just comprehending the marks on a page, but you are trying to understand the thoughts behind the writing. As impossible as this might sound, we do this all the time without realizing it. Like fish who have no idea that they are in water because they are surrounded by it, mind reading is so basic to who we are that we rarely notice it. Just imagine how you would get through your day if you couldn't make sense of the minds of others or count on others to make sense of your mind. Consider the following example. When a person taking a flight to a particular place or country, a cab picks him up to take him to the airport. As the cab approaches the pickup point, the passenger waves his hand and the driver knows that he would like him to stop so he can get on. When the cab stops and the door is unlocked, he knows the driver's intention as well. That is to say, he's being invited to get inside the cab. This may apparently seem like a simple transaction between two complete strangers. Yet, without each of them having an accurate understanding of the psychological meaning of others' behavior, they would not be able to pull off this innocuous interaction. As subtle as it seems, the modern world would stop in its tracks if we no longer had the ability to understand or predict the minds of others. Our ability to think allows us to imagine great achievements, but without the ability to think socially and share our vision with others in a way that engages them, we would be left to our own devices to connect our vision to reality. Consider the ancient Greek civilization as an example. Greek philosophy came about as the result of the exchange of ideas. The same holds true for the growth and development of other civilizations and humanity as a whole. Economists have long studied human capital as a driver of productivity in organizations. Human capital is the amount of intelligence, experience, and education a person has. Not surprisingly, companies with more human capital tend to do better. However, most studies of human social capital ignore the concept of social capital, the social connections and social networks within an organization. Does human capital lead to productivity all on its own merit? Or does social capital play a role in catalyzing human output into optimal performance? The assumption that productivity is about smart people working hard on their own has been masking the fact that individual intelligence may only be optimized when it is enhanced through social connections to others in the group. Social connections are essentially the original internet, connecting different pockets of intelligence to make each pocket more than it would otherwise be by itself. These social connections turn out to be even more important for small companies and startups that specialize in innovation. This is to say that as a single individual, no matter how skillful you may be, you can achieve only as much as you can, but with other skillful individuals with whom you are able to connect with a lot more can be achieved. The word team can therefore be taken or seen as an acronym for together everyone achieves more. Matthew Lieberman in his book Social talks about his experience where he worked as a clerk on a surgical unit at St. Peter's Hospital in New Brunswick, New Jersey. Over there, the nurses day in and day out do extraordinary work. The work is very hard and not so rewarding, much like parenting can be. Each day, they deal with patients and family members who are at their worst. And unlike the rest of us whose stomachs turn at the sight of bodily fluids and whose eyes roll up into our heads at the wounds that must be dressed, nurses rush in and do what needs to be done. They don't do it because they love the patients or trust them. Of course, often they barely even know their patients. They do it because they are motivated to help as an end in itself. The same goes for other public servants in society. The police, the soldiers, the journalists and others, and all who have at times have to put their lives at risk for a greater good. Our ability to empathize and connect with others is a unique feature to humankind. The word empathy was introduced into the English language just over a century ago as a translation of the German word Einfühlung, which means feeling into. The word Einfühlung was used in the 19th century aesthetic philosophy to describe a capacity to mentally get inside works of art and even nature itself, to have something like a first person's experience from the object's perspective. Empathy still means something like feeling into, but it almost always refers to our connecting with another person's experience rather than getting inside an object. The ability to empathize is arguably the pinnacle of our cognitive achievements, the peak of the social brain. It requires us to understand the inner emotional worlds of others and then act in ways that not only benefits them but also improves our relationships with them. It can motivate us to alleviate another person's pain or to celebrate someone else's good fortune. Inasmuch as pain and pleasure are part of our lives, the need to love and be loved and to relate and be in community is what makes us who we are. No matter how smart or rational we become, we can't overthink our basic needs. We all need people to love and respect, and we all need people who love and respect us. Would life without them be worth it? Does the ability to play chess and solve calculus problems make for a life without other people? Mother Teresa, who observed people in the most squalid living conditions imaginable, believed that a life without other people is the worst disease that any human being can ever experience. These basic social needs are present at birth to ensure our survival, but we are guided by these needs until the end of our days. We do not always recognize these needs and we may not see them influencing those around us, but they are still there nonetheless. With that being said, inasmuch as the threat of AI may seem to be like a thorn in the flesh to the jobs that we do, whether you are an IT professional, a delivery agent, a customer service advisor, and so on, the one thing that AI will never be able to replace is the human touch, the uniqueness that only the human person can bring. Technology can try to mimic such human characteristics, but you cannot take away what a real human being has to offer. And so, in the work that we do, whatever it may be, we must always strive to give off our best, for every man, woman, and child is an embodiment of the Spirit of the Almighty God, the Imago Dei, who has breathed into each of us His Spirit. Genesis chapter 2 verses 7. I firmly believe that this is what makes the mysterious dimension of human life so sacred, and that is why it is to be revered. More especially in times like these, where the future seems uncertain, where some are even battling for their lives, which only seems to strengthen this point. Sure enough, at the end of the day, we are all working for the money so that we can take care of our near and dear ones. But it is also important to keep in mind that the money we earn is just a byproduct of the kind of value we bring to the table. As someone who has worked in customer service for about the last 9 years or so and still continuing, I can say that even though a lot of things are being automated, the effort of the human person cannot be wiped away. Imagine if the waiter decides not to come to work at the restaurant where he's supposed to serve, or if a sales executive decides to go on a holiday when he or she is supposed to be on duty, or if the pilot decides not to come to fly the plane, or the doctor decides not to go to the operation theatre, and so on. Life would come to a standstill. Let us not forget that technology was made by man and not the other way around. In as much as technology has its strengths and benefits, may we always remember that it is just a tool to be used to serve for the good of others. May we never forget that it is our resilience as a species that has carried us forward in tough times, and that it is in our hands to make a difference, even if there may be a huge cry and hue about the infiltration of sophisticated technological advances. With these words, I hope you have been able to draw some value out of this video, in as much as it has been a learning experience for me. And if you have, please hit the like button. I would really appreciate it. If you are new here and have not subscribed and would like to see more content where I examine different aspects of life from a Catholic perspective, do consider subscribing if you haven't. Until then, take care, and I will see you in the next video. God bless.